Kentucky's top educator calls the mass resignation of teachers a crisis going on in our classroom, one that threatens to lower the quality of education throughout the state.
Today, WDRB investigates the brain drain, why teachers are heading for the door.
Super straight legs, long, pretty neck. Strong releve.
This is the only class Marty Moore takes in now.
Stretch it out, side, 2, 3.
His child in ballet. The father and former teacher doesn't tiptoe around his education exit.
For this whole school year, there wasn't a single day where I came home happy or in a good mood. Like, I just felt drained and frustrated. So
he taught history at Newburgh Middle School and resigned in December, in the middle of the school year, after 4 years in JCPS.
I fully expected that to be my job for the rest of my life.
Moore served in the Army for a decade. He says he was on the front lines in Iraq and now believes the war in the classroom was the toughest job he ever had.
There was an increase in behavioral issues. That made teaching more difficult. The administration didn't know how to deal with that, so they kept adding things for the teachers to do. And the students' behavior in class and those extra demands, it felt like we were working a full-time job outside of our full-time job.
Moore is part of a nationwide brain drain, a mass class of teachers exiting the classroom. The National Education Association says there are 567,000 fewer teachers in America's public schools than before the pandemic, and 55% of teachers now say they're going to leave the profession sooner than they'd planned, up from 37% last year.
Well, I think that we are at risk of lowering the quality of the educators that we have working in our state.
It's a troubling equation for Kentucky Education Commissioner Jason Glass. Older teachers retiring, younger ones like Moore quitting, fewer college students studying education, and not enough people to plug the holes.
So I would call those things crises and require urgent and diligent action.
He warned Kentucky lawmakers about this crisis last month, citing pressures beyond the pandemic, saying solutions come in addressing pay and barriers to certification, poor perception in the profession, and politics.
And stop laying all of the problems of society and partisan political issues at the feet of teachers and pointing the finger of blame at them. That's not helping.
Moore says the job was just different post-pandemic, more exhausting.
All of our time was being devoted primarily to dealing with behavioral issues and then coming back to be able to teach. But when you waste that much time, how effective can the teaching part of it really be?
He's not alone. WDRB obtained school work condition surveys from the Kentucky Department of Education. We found 66% of those polled said student misconduct interrupted the learning environment. 18% of the staff felt somewhat or not safe, and 66% also said they were concerned for their emotional well-being, more for that of their colleagues.
Record levels of concern around stress, difficult working conditions, and them saying that they're considering leaving the field.
The numbers reveal the why and also the impact of this crisis. In Kentucky, more than 7,000 teachers left the classroom last year alone. Meanwhile, 1,800 teaching positions went unfilled. The number of emergency certifications nearly doubled.
We should be concerned about the increasing numbers of teachers that we have working in Kentucky on emergency certifications. Don't get me wrong, we're grateful to have those people working in our schools because they're filling a critical need. When you're using an emergency certification, you're talking about a much lower standard. We're basically saying, does someone have a college degree and are they not a criminal?
Will every position be filled by day one?
That is the goal.
Jesse Bacon has about 24 teaching positions to fill in Bullitt County. He says the real brain drain is the wealth of knowledge schools lose, filling the vacancy of a seasoned educator.
And mentors, folks that can walk alongside a new teacher or a young teacher, an inexperienced teacher, and help show them what it's like to be an effective educator.
Schools must make do.
We'll have positions that won't totally be filled. We'll have some vacant positions probably on day one.
Combine classes, hire less desirable applicants, get teachers to fill in during their planning periods, or just find a full-time sub.
If you have a sub for a class like, algebra, calculus, is that student getting what they need?
It's going to be very difficult for those students to get the same level of instruction that they would get from someone who's trained.
Kentucky's Education Job Board listed 4,000 openings a month before the next school year begins. Indiana's in a tighter crunch. Many districts start in July, some in our area next week. Area colleges try to help.
If you change your mind or at 30 or 40, 50 or 60 and you decide you want to become a teacher, we also have routes there.
With alternative and more supportive training, hoping teachers stick it out for a full career.
By expanding student teaching, it's more supported practice and recognizing, helping them become more reflective about what works, what doesn't work.
Not one solution or an easy fix.
I took the first job that was offered to me. That's how ready I was to get out of the classroom.
More now works in sales. But who's teaching the next generation still matters to this dad.
They're not going to get the education they need to be successful in the world. Everybody's going to be behind.
If you have information about this story or any other story you think our Investigates team should look into, you can email us at investigate@wdrb.com or give us a call at 502-322-1297.